Hello there, and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. I think people are really going to enjoy today's show.
They really are. We are really thrilled to introduce to you in the next segment Mike Boynton Jr., who's the new head coach of men's basketball at Oklahoma State University. I got a chance to talk to Mike Holder a little bit about it, and he was thrilled to have the opportunity to hire Mike and get him working for OSU. He's a nice young man, got a lot of fun ideas, a lot of enthusiasm. I think you're going to enjoy his explanation of OSU basketball.
Mike Boynton Jr., today's guest in The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I worked in the Pentagon in the photo intelligence lab, and everything we did was top secret. I'm Jerry Brown. I'm a World War II veteran and a Chickasaw. We were just working, and they came in the middle of the morning and sent the other crew out and said, "You are on special duty and you will be here until this is finished." This was the first time that we actually saw a live drop that was sent to damage, and to see the damage that it did. We knew something terrible had happened. We could tell that it was very devastating. We were part of something that was important to keeping this world and democracy and freedom alive. I had helped my country. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm an American citizen. I'm equally proud that I'm a Chickasaw citizen.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
As we talked about in the opening segment, we're really pleased to bring you Mike Boynton Jr., the new head men's basketball coach at Oklahoma State University. Mike did his undergraduate work and his undergraduate basketball playing, I might add, at the University of South Carolina. He remained in South Carolina coaching at several schools. He went right out of college into the coaching profession. He was an assistant at Oklahoma State last year. He was elevated from the assistant status to the head coach status recently this year. He is the 20th head coach of Oklahoma State University, and this is his first visit to The Verdict, and we trust it will not be his last. Mike, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Mick. Thank you very much, Ken. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to represent Oklahoma State basketball. I'm excited about the opportunity I have ahead of me in my first year as a head coach, to coach at a program with great tradition, tremendous fan support, and great administrative support as well. So looking forward to it.
Well, while 35 nationally might be a young age to be a Division I head coach, Oklahoma State kind of has a history of this, not necessarily in basketball, but they've had head coaches in their 20s and their 30s, and have had some great success, some Hall of Fame coaches in that description.
Mike Holder was a head golf coach, I think, right out of high school.
Almost.
He was awfully young.
He was. They've had coaches in their 20s, but mid-30s is still a ripe age for a head coaching job. But let's back up. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And tell us about your childhood.
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Small town of 2 million. And, it was interesting because now I go around and I speak in smaller towns here in Oklahoma. And when I say that, people always get a chuckle out of it because so many towns are really, really small. I went over to Altus earlier this month, and I'm looking forward to visiting some other people. But I grew up there, both parents in my home, so I was fortunate. because I grew up with a lot of friends who did not have two-parent homes, and a lot of times didn't have a dad, and my dad was there every step of the way. I did have 4 sisters and no brothers, and so basketball gave me an opportunity to get out of the house. It was something that I really, really loved to play and find a great joy in the game and really learn to compete while playing up there. The other thing it did was it introduced me to other guys. And so I developed brothers through basketball. Played basketball in Brooklyn, New York all my life, and through my childhood, through high school, and was recruited as a basketball player to go to the University of South Carolina. Had good success. I wasn't a great player, but I was a leader. I was a point guard and a guy who always commanded respect for my teammates because of the way I worked at the game and always wanted to perfect as a craft the game of basketball. So not long after I finished playing, I realized that being an NBA player wasn't in the cards for me. It's probably one of the best realizations that I've ever had because I know a lot of people who chase that dream and more power to them. It's a great life to live and a great opportunity if you can get that far. But
let's back up just a hair. When you were recruited, what was that like? What was the process like, and what do you remember from it?
Well, I remember uniquely, ironically, the coaches I went to go play for all came to visit my house in Brooklyn. And Coach Fogler, who was the head coach at the University of South Carolina at the time, was from New York City. And I lived in not the best part of town. And there was some not so friendly activity going on outside my house while they were giving this spiel. And I remember the coaches looking at each other like, wow, are we going to be okay getting out of here? But it was a tremendous experience, having an opportunity to get to know different coaches from different parts of the country. I really narrowed my choices down to about 4 schools. Hofstra University, Jay Wright was the head coach there. He's now the head coach at Villanova University. Boston College, Al Skinner was the head coach there. The University of Massachusetts, Bruiser Flint was the head coach there.
What type of exposure did you get as a high school player? Was there AAU ball that you
Yeah. I was really fortunate. I was exposed to basketball competitively from the time I was about 4 years old. I played on an organized AAU team when I was 8. I left the state of New York when I was 10 to play against some other state competition. And then I left the country by the time I was 12. I played in a tournament in Paris, France. I remember having to get a passport. And neither one of my parents had ever left the country. Neither one of my parents finished college. And so when I had the opportunity to get recruited, my mom made a big emphasis that education was going to be a huge opportunity for me. In fact, threatened that I couldn't play basketball if I didn't keep my grades up. And that really kind of got my attention early on. But, once I had the opportunity to go to college, I wanted to make sure that I did the right things, that I make sure I focused and got good grades because, again, I realized that the NBA wasn't going to be the end result for me. And I wanted to give myself the best opportunity to have success once basketball was over from a playing standpoint.
A lot of freshmen struggle, socially, academically, being away from home. It just seems all different. And coaches usually push them really hard. Do you remember what that was like as a 17 or 18-year-old?
Yeah, I don't think I realized how hard the basketball was until the season started. But I remember feeling a sense of culture shock. Yeah. I'd only lived in New York City, and I would tell you that when I was in high school, when I decided to go to University of South Carolina, you could not tell me that I wouldn't go there for 4 years and return to the city immediately. And I remember vividly, the third day on campus, I'm sitting outside, which is what you do in New York City all the time. And I'm looking around, and no one's outside with me. And I'm thinking, what kind of people don't sit outside and just talk and hang out? But it was just different. People hang more indoors in the South. But I had a tremendous experience there because of the people I was with, the coaches that I played for, and the teammates that I played with, the friends that I met. And even some of the professors that I've gotten to know who are still really good friends of mine to this day.
Did you get some playing time early?
I did. I played a little bit as a freshman. I probably wasn't as good as I thought. Well, I know I wasn't as good as I thought going in. And there were some hard lessons. I weighed 160 pounds. And there were point guards at that level that weighed 195. I had never lifted a weight. And so I remember my first weightlifting workout, the guy gets down there and says, "Hey, how much can you lift?" And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. He says, "All right, we're going to start with the bar," and I couldn't lift the bar off the bench. So it was a huge learning experience, not only physically but the mental aspect of it as well.
Well, you went right from a really good college career into coaching. When did you make the decision that once I get through with my playing time, I'm going to try to coach?
Well, like all kids, I grew up wanting to play in the NBA. That was a dream from the time I started playing. And then again, luckily, I realized that wasn't in the cards. But I did think that I was going to play professional basketball in some form. And I actually had an opportunity to play over in Belgium after my senior year. And I had an injury for the first time. And it really took the game away from me. And that was the first sign that, maybe it's time to start this college coaching career. And I was offered an opportunity to be a grad assistant by a gentleman named Larry Davis, who was the head coach at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. Did that for a year. And, the ironic thing of that is, so in March of that year, 2004, I was a starting point guard at the University of South Carolina. We played in the NCAA tournament, and I was a starting point guard on the NCAA tournament team. Actually, Oklahoma State played in the same regional in Kansas City that year, and the team that went to the Final Four last. And then in November of that year, I was a graduate assistant, basically like a volunteer, like a guy that just does all the grunt work that no one else wants to do. And so I go from being a starting point guard on the NCAA tournament team to washing the underwear of Furman's walk-ons. And I'm thinking to myself, how did things fall so quickly for me? But it was truly a humbling experience and really let me know that you really start at the bottom of this career, and if you want to be good at it, you got to learn how to do and appreciate every part of it.
Now, from Furman, you went to
Coastal Carolina,
which
is in Conway, more notably Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and worked for a guy named Buzz Peterson, who played at North Carolina and actually was the best friend of a guy named Michael Jordan, who some people may remember. And I had a really, really good experience there because I was able now to go get some recruiting experience. It was the first time that I was actually able to go out and, evaluate talent, try to develop relationships with families and coaches, and have an opportunity to make my mark in that regard, which is a really, really important part of this profession. We signed some really good players and had some really good seasons there. Although we were only there for 2 years, we really helped get that program turned around, and it's really been trending upwards since then. I was in 2005.
Recruiting's about building relationships, isn't it?
It's all about relationships, and the more genuine your relationships you have with people, the more opportunities you're going to have success in recruiting. People have to know you actually care about them, and not just talk about the things that you can do to help them, but that those things will be reciprocated, obviously from an academic standpoint, but also athletically and socially in their development as well.
What aspect of coaching do you enjoy the most? Some coaches like the X's and O's, some like the practice and the teaching aspect, some enjoy the recruiting and the administrative side. What gets you out of bed every day excited?
Mick, excuse me.
Yeah.
Can we hold that until after the
sure.
break? And I think we need to jump to a break now. But
Okay.
be thinking of your answers.
You got
We'll
it.
come back and pick it up right there.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers and our guest Mike Boynton Jr., the men's basketball coach at Oklahoma State University. When we took the break, you were about to tell us about which aspect of coaching you enjoy the most.
Well, I'll say I love recruiting. I really enjoy getting to know young men and their families, hearing different stories and finding out what drives people. But the thing I love the most is being with our players and helping them develop. So taking a young man from the time he's 17 or 18 years old when he enters your program and seeing what he is as a finished product from an athletic standpoint, his academic development, his social development, but really maturity. You see a lot of people come into college and they think they know everything. And then they leave and they don't even know what to do the next day once the season is over. And you have that experience every day. And every year I have a senior come into my office a week or so after the season like, I don't know what to do now, Coach. We don't have practice. We don't have, no one's telling me to go lift weights. And so those bonds that you develop with those guys that you hope to continue for the rest of their lives is something I really, really cherish.
Mike, you and your family had 1 year in Stillwater before this year, of course, last year.
Yeah.
How is your family getting along in Stillwater, and how are you enjoying the living experiences?
Well, it's been tremendous. That's been probably the easiest part of this transition. A lot of times when you're in transition as a college coach, you're living somewhere and your family's living somewhere else for a little while. And that happened to us last year when we were moving from Nacogdoches over to Stillwater. But this year we've been able to sleep in the same household for the most part. My wife and I have two really young children. Ace is 4 and Zoe's 1. So we're wide open at the house. And that's the other part that kind of keeps me grounded in this is my 4 and 1 year old, they have no idea what's going on. They don't care that their dad's the new head coach. My son just wants to know if I'm reading him a bedtime story, and my daughter just wants to know if I'm going to rock her to sleep at night. So that kind of keeps me grounded and humble in this.
Well, you've had 1 year in the Big 12. What'd you think first year?
Really, really challenging.
Yeah.
Probably even more difficult than I thought coming in. I've always grew up around Big East basketball. Obviously played in the SEC and so was exposed to the ACC as well. But the Big 12 is the best of the best. And because of the structure of our schedule, you don't miss anybody ever. Mm-hmm. You get to play every team twice every year. And so, yeah, every year you have to go to Lawrence, and you got to go to Morgantown, and you got to go to Austin, and you got to go to Waco. You don't miss any of those trips, although I would like to have some unbalance every now and then and not have to make some of those trips every year. But those teams all have to come to Stillwater, and it's great for our fans. It's great for the university to be associated with the Big 12 Conference.
Well, tell us about your team.
I think my team's going to be really good. I love where we are. I hate that we lost Juwan Evans, who was obviously a tremendous point guard for us last year. But we feel like we've been able to find some guys who can come in and fill that gap. Brandon Averett, who'll be a sophomore, will be a guy who we expect to step up and be more mature in that role. We also signed a kid named Kendall Smith, who's a grad transfer from Cal State Northridge. So he'll bring some experience to that position, experience that we don't necessarily have otherwise. Jeffrey Carroll, we expect a lot from. Another guy who flirted a little bit with the idea of going professional, but decided that it would be best to finish his career here. Finish his degree, and then take that step next year. Mitchell Solomon, we expect to be a big contributor. He'll be a senior, kid from just outside Tulsa and Big Bixby, Oklahoma. And so
I saw Solomon throughout the year. It seemed like Solomon just got better and better as the year went along. Of course, you always hope players will do that, but what did you observe?
Yeah, I think Mitch is a guy who is not a naturally confident kid, and so he needs to see himself have success to really believe that he can do something. And I think he started off the year a little bit rough. He was in foul trouble a lot, which a lot of big guys are. And so that psychologically that bothered him. But as the season went on and he figured out it was a new system all those guys were playing in last year. And so once he got used to things, he had more success as the season went on. You see his confidence growing in that.
Whom else do you look to as doing something good for you this year?
I expect a lot out of Lindy Waters, a kid from just right down in Norman, who was a freshman last year, battled some injuries. He had a really, really good spring for us, and a kid I expect to make a big jump. Devon Dillard, a kid from Gary, Indiana originally, who showed flashes of brilliance. He's probably the most athletic guy we have on our team. We just got to keep him focused on trying to be consistent with his play and his mental approach to the game. And also a guy named like Cam McGriff, who was also a freshman last year. So we got a really good young nucleus of talent. We just got to find a way to mesh all those guys together and to build off of last year's momentum playing in the state tournament.
I'm interested in your own personal assessment of the difficulty or challenges moving from an assistant coach to becoming a head coach, particularly at the same institution. How have you made that adjustment?
Yeah, the easiest part is actually doing it at the same institution. I know all the administrators. I know the campus fairly well. When we bring kids on campus, I'm not asking anybody, hey, where are the dorms at? Can you help me figure out where to show this kid around? So that's been a really, really helpful part. One of the unique challenges I have now is I've got to process information differently because when people come and ask me for my opinion, what I say usually is the final decision now. I don't just make a suggestion, I make decisions now. And so I've got to be more thorough in the way I think about those things. I got to understand that every decision I make is going to impact something else down the line. And so I got to be more thoughtful about, how this is going to impact maybe something else we want to do later on in the process.
Earlier you mentioned that all those Big 12 teams have to come to Stillwater. Talk about the advantage of Gallagher-Iba Arena.
Oh man, it's tremendous. I've never played in a place as historic and really as intimidating. I mean, there were a couple times where I felt bad for our guys because we were trying to tell them instructions and they're looking at us like, Coach, I can't hear you. And so the thing is, those guys are cheering for us and not against us, so it helps. Right. But the opportunity to coach at a place where coaches have had so much success, where teams have had so much success, is a tremendous honor, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to lead this program in that building.
And I'm sure you're on the recruiting trail now. How are you being received nationally?
Really well. Recruiting is something I've always been really passionate about since I started in the profession, and it's not something that I've taken a step back in this new role. I'm actually probably even more aggressive now in the way I evaluate and the guys that we go after, because I feel like this program is an elite program. I think we have every resource that it takes from a tremendous fan base, great administrative support, and we've got really good history. You can always draw back on those things when you recruit, so we're not going to take a back seat to anybody in recruiting. We're going to try to recruit the best players we can get. We want the best kids from the state of Oklahoma to be Cowboys as often as possible. But we're going to go after the best players in the country that we can get.
I know you can't talk individually about players you're recruiting, but high school coaches in general, are they welcoming and bring you into their programs to look at their players?
Yeah, and we'll continue to reach out to those guys because we want the coaches, especially in the state of Oklahoma, to feel like they're part of our program. We want them to have access to our practices, to our games, and we want them to know that we always want to welcome the opportunity to recruit their young student athletes.
All right, and I know there's some people out there probably got their ticket renewals for next season, or people thinking about buying season tickets. Give us your sales pitch on the 17-18 Cowboys season tickets.
Well, I'll say this. Last year was just the beginning. 20-win season and a trip to the NCAA tournament is the bare minimum that we can have as an expectation for our program moving forward. So if you want to be with a winner and you want to have an opportunity to cheer on this program as it continues to climb back toward the top of the Big 12, now's the time to get on board.
We started this show with you talking about your parents and your admiration for them. Are they still with us?
Yes, both of them. Both of them are still alive. In fact, we're playing in a tournament in Brooklyn, New York this year, so they'll make the trip back to the city to watch us play. And I would imagine they'll be in Gallagher-Iba several times this year.
Well, we'll look forward to that and look forward to your Cowboy team.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you
luck.
very much.
Thanks for coming.
Mike Boynton Jr., the new head basketball coach at Oklahoma State. Kent and I'll have a final word when we return.
There are now 11 million of us who live here and work here. I was 15 when I came here 6 years ago. I raised my family here, drive my truck to my job every day. The only difference between now and 6 years ago, I do it legally. I wanted to. Because this is my home.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be Mom and Dad. You have children coming from a different lifestyle, different mindset. You have to open your arms and really do what you have to do to have that child become a part of your family. And if it's more patience, that's what you do. Kids got to know they can trust you. And that's what we've tried to do with these kids.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
We, from time to time, have opportunities to visit with the head coaches at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, and boy, you just can't meet Mike Boynton and not feel good about the future of that program.
Well, that's true, and for him to be added to a rich tradition that already exists, I'm sure he's just going to make it better. And what a personable, bright, articulate young man.
Tough conference, though. I mean, this is not the place you really want to start your head basketball coaching career. Because the Big 12, from top to bottom, as he kind of inferred, is perhaps the best conference in America. And so he's going to have his work cut out for him. But long term, I feel really good about him being a successful college coach.
Well, it's clear to see what Mike Holder saw in the interviewing of the candidates when he got to Mike Boynton Jr. He's a very impressive young man.
They had a good season last year with Mike in charge. You feel like the Cowboys will be good again next year. And I want to give some website information. You can correspond with Mike or talk more about Oklahoma State athletics at this website, okstate.edu. That's okstate.edu. And we have a website. It's theverdict.tv. That's theverdict.tv. You can log on and tell us about a guest you'd like to see or a show you'd like to see upcoming. We really want to thank Mike for coming on the show.
Yeah, he drove down here from Stillwater, and I know he's got a lot to do, and kind of found his way to the studio and just did a wonderful job for us, and we appreciate him being able to bring you information from him.
Yeah, this is the time of year when a coach might be able to catch their breath, might be able to take an afternoon off, but Mike decided to spend it with us, so we're very appreciative of his time. Thank you for joining us, too. We'll see you next week right here on The Verdict.